President, please be seated. The court is now in session. Today, the chamber hears the remaining testimony of this witness, and at the conclusion of this witness testimony, we will hear another witness testimony that is through TCW 909 via a video link. Ms. Sakalwati, please report the attendance of the parties and other individuals at today's proceedings. Grazie, Mr. President. For today's proceedings, all parties to this case are present. Mr. Nunchi is present in the holding cell downstairs. He has waived his right to be present in the courtroom. The waiver has been delivered to the greffier. A witness who is to conclude his testimony, that is Mr. Aho, is ready and present in the courtroom. The next witness, that is through TCW 909, will testify by a video link. This witness confirms that through the best knowledge, the witness has no relationship by blood or by law to any of the two accused, that is Nuon Chea and Khieu Sampon, or through any of the civil parties admitted in this case. The witness took an oath already. Thank you. President, thank you. The chamber now decides on the request by Nuon Chea. The chamber has received a waiver from Nuon Chea dated 20th May 2015, which states that due to his health, that is headache, back pain, he cannot sit or concentrate for long, and in order to effectively participate in future hearings, he requests to waive his right to participate in and be present at the 20th May 2015 hearing. He advises that his counsel advised him about the consequence of this waiver, that in no way it can be construed as a waiver of his rights to be tried fairly or to challenge evidence presented or admitted to this court at any time during this trial. Having seen the medical report of Nuon Chea by the duty doctor for the accused at the ECCC dated 20th May 2015, who notes that Nuon Chea has a chronic back pain and dizziness when he sits for long, and recommends that the chamber shall grant him his request so that he can follow the proceedings remotely from the holding cell downstairs. Based on the above information and pursuant to Rule 81.5 of the ECCC internal rules, the chamber grants Nuon Chea his request to follow today's proceedings remotely from the holding cell downstairs via an audio-visual means. AV unit personnel are instructed to link the proceedings to the room downstairs so that Nuon Chea can follow the proceedings. And that applies for the whole day. The chamber now hands the floor to the defense teams. First, to the Nuon Chea defense to put questions to witness Aho. You may proceed, counsel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, Your Honors. Good morning, counsel. Good morning, Mr. Witness. I have some more questions to put to you after yesterday. I would like to start asking you some questions about the time that you, as chief of your village, received a request to bring and select a workforce for the building of the 1st of January dam. Do you remember who it was who made the request to you to select people from your village?
Witness. The person who made a request was my superior, that is the commune committee, who received instructions further from the upper echelon.
Do you remember the exact month of 1976 that he made that request to you in your capacity as village chief?
The request was made in October. However, first it was for the mobile unit. That is the strong force in those mobile units. And about 30 workers were selected from each village. And the first wave of the force was to clear the land and the bushes, and then the big force was requested at a later stage.
So is it correct to say that initially from your village 30 people belonging to the mobile unit were sent to work for the dam, at the dam, and then at a later stage some more people from your village were sent to work? Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Would you be able to tell us how many people in total have worked, how many people in total from your village have worked at the 1st of January dam?
For the middle-aged force, there were about 100. And for those in the mobile units, the number was between 70 to 80 workers.
So would it be correct that in a period of, let's say, 7 to 8 months, a little less than 200 people from your village have, one way or another, participated in the building of the dam? Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Do you remember which criteria you applied when selecting the other people from your village not belonging to the mobile unit?
Please repeat your question.
You said that people from the mobile unit were selected to work, but you said there are also other people from your village you selected. Do you recall what criteria you used to assemble these other people from your village? Age or strength of the people? Can you recall?
People who were selected to work at the 1st January dam work site were those who had full strength. Other people were not selected as they were assigned to stay at the village.
Thank you. There's one point of clarification that I would like to address with you. Yesterday, a number of 100 was mentioned. 100 people that you might have supervised. However, when I read your statement to the investigators of the co-investigating judges, it seemed that you, when you were working at the dam, were supervising only a group of 20 people. Is that correct? When you were working at the dam, you were supervising a group of 20 people? Or were you also responsible for the whole selection of the people coming from your village?
The number of the people selected was correct, and at the work site, the total number was subdivided into smaller groups, and then for each group there will be a chief who will supervise and works together with the team or the group members. And for the 20 people that I supervised, I also worked together with them. That's how it was organized. And usually we would meet during our meal time at noon.
I understand. So would it then be fair to say that in addition to you supervising 20 people, there would be another 9 supervisors working side by side with you, supervising the other, let's say, 180 people? Is that a correct calculation?
There were 100 workers when we left the village, and at the work site, the 100 workers were divided into 5 groups, and for each group, one person will be appointed as chief, and we were working nearby each other at the work site.
I understand. Do you recall who the other 4 supervisors were working at the dam? Who were the other 4 people supervising the people that came from your village?
The other 4 people were the group chiefs from my village, and they were assigned to supervise those 4 groups.
And do you remember any of the names of those other 4 group supervisors?
I recall some of their names, but not all.
Can you give it a try? Who were those other 4 supervisors?
They were Nate, Chiang, and I cannot recall the other 3 names. However, they all passed away because of the elderly age.
And did the 5 of you make decisions in respect of the whole group of 100. Would that be fair to say?
We all volunteered to undertake the assignment as instructed by Onka.
I understand that all 5 of you volunteered to be group chiefs, but was it also decided that the 5 of you would work together in leading the total group of 100?
We all volunteered to undertake the work at the dam construction worksite.
I understand, but when, for instance, issuing instructions to the 100 people of your village, did the 5 of you consult with each other, work together with each other in order to implement the working process?
We met each other in the evening, and the 5 of us would talk to each other, and also the workers were there. And sometimes we exchange conversation. But usually the 5 of us, who were the group chiefs, would meet and speak to one another about the work progress and about the workers.
And did you ever have conflicts with any of the other 4 group chiefs, or when there was a conflict, or when there was something, you would discuss it together? Can you tell us a little bit about how the 5 of you work together?
The 5 of us who were working together, we did not have any conflict with one another, not at all. And usually we would share whatever food we had. And the same thing applies to the workers under our supervision. We never criticize this worker or that worker was lazy or didn't work fast enough, for instance.
And the 5 of you then collectively reported to the person that was on an upper level of you. Is that correct? The 5 of you reported your experiences to the person who was responsible for you. Would that be fair summarizing?
After when we met, we exchanged the statistics, and then I gathered all the information, and it was I, on behalf of the group, made a report to the upper level. And the report would comprise of the strength of the workers, as well as the health condition of the workers.
And you, on behalf of the other 4, would report daily or weekly or 2 weekly? Do you remember?
The report was made daily. For example, how many workforce worked today and how many workers got ill on this particular day. And the report was made through someone who came to fetch it from the work site.
And would you also report how many cubic meters ground, for instance, on that day was taken away by the 5 groups together?
Yes, we also reported on the number of cubic meters that our whole group dug for that day, and that was based on the individual group report that I received. Then I made the combined report through the upper echelon. The report would include the achievement of the cubic meters as well as the workforce who worked on that particular day.
And did the 5 of you only have to limit yourselves to the total of 100 people working under you, or were you also involved in what other villages or other people from other villages were doing?
Other villages had their own respective villagers, and of course they would organize a similar activity. And as for me, I would supervise my village workers together with the other 4 group chiefs.
Now I would like you to give a concrete example of somebody within those 5 groups who would fall sick. If a worker in the morning would feel sick, for instance in your own group, what would you do? How would you act?
For example, in the morning, if a worker was reported that he or she was unwell, then we would try to see whether any treatment can be given to make him better. Usually we would use hot water with herbal or traditional medicine, and we cooked it in a big pot, and workers would drink from it. And then we would allow that sick worker to rest on that day.
Did you or any of your 4 group leaders ever force somebody who was sick in the morning to work anyway?
As I have just said, we loved each other as brothers and sisters. If a worker could not work, that worker would be allowed to rest until he or she became better. Then he or she would request to return to work.
And he or she would make that request to his own particular group leader, and then the group leader would discuss it with you and the other group leaders. Is that a correct summary?
Allow me to say, we were all kind of living together in a long hut as part of our accommodation, which was about 30 meters long. And of course, we knew immediately if someone was sick, I could see it, other group chiefs would see it.
I do apologize. My thing went. I'm sorry, Mr. Witness. Would you be so kind to repeat your answer? I had a technical malfunction.
Please repeat your last question.
That's a good question. I will move on to the next question. I apologize for this disruption. My point is where I would like to get to is the person reporting to the group chief that he was sick. You would discuss it, I think, with the other group leaders. What would happen if somebody didn't recover and would stay sick 2 days, 3 days, even 4 days? What would you decide to do, the five of you, in respect of this particular person?
At this bigger work site, in fact, there was a kind of mobile hospital attached to the work site, and if the person did not get better, then he or she would be sent to that mobile hospital at the work site for further treatment.
And do you recall any particular instances where somebody stayed sick and was then subsequently sent to this mobile medical unit? Do you recall any specific people?
Yes. As I stated, the work at the construction work site and allow me to give you an example. There was an old woman who was about 35 years old, and there was an incident where the soil collapsed upon her. Then I assigned 3 or 4 other workers to rush her to that mobile medical unit for treatment. And she later on recovered after 4 months treatment staying at the mobile medical unit. And in fact, her husband thought that she had died. But she survived until recently.
Thank you, Mr. Witness, for that example. But what, for instance, if somebody had woken up one morning with diarrhea and fever, and this fever would not go away even after 2 days or 3 days? Then I presume you would decide to send this person to the hospital. If the person wouldn't get better at this mobile hospital, what would happen then? Do you recall any instances of such situations?
At each major work site, ONCA organized and established a medical unit on the ground, and if the condition of the workers did not get better, then the workers will be referred to the sector hospital, and if the condition still did not get better, then the patients will be referred to the zone hospital.
Now, would you be able to recall in how many instances in those 6 months people of your 100-member unit were ever sent to a sector hospital because he or she didn't get better?
Answer: not many people referred to the sector hospital from my knowledge. I was working at Cambodia worksite. I sent my sick worker to district hospital. I was asked why the sick people were not put in the mobile medical unit at the work site, and I told medical staff at the district hospital that because the medical units at the work site and the district hospital were close to each other, so I decided to refer the sick people to district hospital instead. Actually, I could not recall all the detail because of my weak memory at the current time.
But you and your 4 group leaders had around 100 people working for you during a period of 6 months. Roughly, how many people were not cured by the mobile hospital at the dam, but had to be sent to the district hospital? Was it 2? Was it 5? Was it 10 in those 6 months? Can you give me a number?
Answer: we sent those who got serious illness to sector hospital. For sick people, minor ones, we would refer them to mobile medical unit at the work site, and we would give them herbal medicines for the sick worker to drink. Unless we could not cure them in the mobile hospital, we would send them to district or sector hospitals.
Thank you. I understand completely what you're saying, but are you able to give me an estimate of how many people were sent to the district hospital and then came back to work again at the dam in those 6 months? Was it 2? Was it 5? Was it 10? Can you, I realize it's difficult, but can you give me an estimate number?
Answer. As for the groups in my village, I sent only one sick person to the district hospital, and for the rest, we allow them to be treated in a mobile hospital at the work site, which had abundance of medicines for treatment.
I understand. And the one person who couldn't be taken care of by the medical unit and was sent to the district hospital did in fact return and was able to continue working. Is that correct?
Answer. 4 months later, this sick individual returned to work. He or she was hospitalized in the district hospital for 4 months. This was based on what I was told by this individual. He told me about this. He or she was hospitalized in the district hospital for 15 days, and after that he or she was referred further to the sector hospital. 4 months later, he returned back to work.
I'm referring, Mr. Witness, to an answer that you gave yesterday. Of those 100 people from your village who worked under your supervision and the other group leader's supervision, nobody died of any sickness. Is that correct?
Answer. At the work site, as I stated earlier, it appears that workers were safe, and some of them fell sick, but they recovered from illness after they got a coins massage.
Would it be fair to say, Mr. Witness, that the well-being, the health of any of those 100 people was within the realm of your decision, yours and the group leaders, that you 5 were responsible for the well-being of your 100 people and that nobody interfered? Is that correct?
Answer. The 100 worker which under my supervision and other 4 group chiefs, we actually supervised these 100 workers.
Now, what happened if one of those 100 workers would say, right now I'm very tired and I cannot stand on my feet, is it all right to have a 50-minute break? Would you, in such a situation, decide that it is okay? Or would you say to this person, work on anyway?
Answer. While we were working together, we would not allow one worker to take a rest, and if he or she could not really work, we asked him or her to walk slowly or to do the work very slowly. And during the working hours, we allow 3 breaks in the morning. We allow 3 breaks in the morning.
Would that be every hour or so that people had a break, or every 1 hour and a half that people had a break? Do you remember?
Answer. For the break time, after 2 hour work, we allow the worker to take 15-minute break. It was the decision for break time for all workers.
So your group of 100 people would have a break at around the same time as all the other groups coming from villages working at the dam. Is that correct?
Answer. Yes, that is correct. We had break at the same time.
Were the 5 of you and the other 4 group chiefs, also responsible for the housing of those 100 people? Were you responsible for the places where they were sleeping at night?
Answer. Yes, 5 of us were in charge of the 100 workers, including sleeping at night time and meal for them. And if something happens, we would make a report. Actually, those who were working on the dam were the front lines, and those who were working in other areas were in the rear lines. And if the front line requested something, and then the rear line would support it.
But it was the responsibility of you and your 4 group chiefs to make sure that the 100 people from your village slept as well as possible under the circumstances at night. Would that be a fair assumption?
Answer. As for the accommodation, actually we did not have a proper place to sleep, but there was actually a place for us to sleep. There was mats for us to sleep on, and the mat was made from palm leaves, and I could say that the accommodation was not really proper.
I understand. But were you and your 4 group chiefs allowed to bring material such as mats or maybe even mosquito nets from your village? Were you allowed to bring anything that you liked from your village to those sleeping quarters?
Answer. When we were working at the dam site, we told the workers already that please get ready and be prepared. And those who had mats or mosquito nets, they should bring those materials along to the work site. We informed all about this before we went to work at the dam site. So everyone was on their own.
So any of those 100 people could bring whatever he or she felt he or she needed to sleep at night. Would that be a fair assumption?
But
Answer: yes, that is a fair assumption.
Would the same apply for other material? If people would return after one free day, would they be allowed to bring stuff like, for instance, food for the next 9 days? Would they be allowed to bring anything they liked when they were returning to the dam site?
but
Answer: if they had, they could bring those belongings or food supplies with them. They could bring along.
Did you or any of your other 4 group chiefs ever tell one of those 100 people, no, you cannot bring this item with you to the dam site?
but
Actually, we mentioned like what you said. They should not bring their private food supplies, but if they happened to bring very little food supplies along, then we would allow them to bring them to the work site.
Now, I would like to ask some questions about these 100 people. Did you know every single individual of this group of 100 by name, by person? You knew everybody in that group. Is that correct?
didn't ខ្ញុំ
Answer: I do not recall them all.
I understand, of course, but at the time, did you know each and every individual from that group of 100? Did you know this person from your village? Did you know who he or she was?
យើងអាចស្គាល់
Answer: we could know some of them. For example, Uncle A, B, or E were in certain comrades group, and I knew well my 20 workers in my group.
Would it be fair to say that you and your 4 group leaders knew every single individual from this group of 100? That the 5 of you together knew everybody?
Answer: yes, we knew that there were 100 workers in the 5 groups, but we did not know them all well.
I understand. Are you able to tell us if within this group of 100 who were original base people and who were new people? Or was that something that you didn't know?
Answer. Yes, I knew that certain people were base people and others were new people, and we were also aware that some were Cham people or other ethnicity because they were all in our group at the work sites.
Now, did you or any of your 4 group leaders ever ordered somebody who was a new person to work any harder than somebody who was a base person?
Didn't
Answer. No, I never imposed such a condition. We had the same work condition. It did not mean that new people worked harder than base people. We had the same work condition to achieve our plan.
Would it then be fair to say that you and your 4 group leaders treated every single individual within this group of 100 people in an equal manner?
bà tra-
Answer. Yes, that is correct.
Now, within these 6 months that you and your 4 group leaders supervised these 100 people from your village, did you ever make a decision to send any of these 100 people to the upper echelon for not working hard enough? Did you ever request disciplinary measures to be taken against any of those 100 individuals?
ចំពោះ
Answer. As for the 4 group chiefs and I, we never sent our own workers for disciplinary measure or actions. And we would try to resolve the work issue in our groups so that we could finish the work.
Now, at the work site, when the 5 groups of 20 people were working, were there militia or military people watching and controlling your group of 100 people?
Answer. At the work sites, actually, we had those who provided the security and safety for all workers.
But is my understanding correct that the militia who were walking there were there because of external security problems and not to supervise or instruct the workers? That is correct, isn't it?
answer. Militiamen did not come to watch the worker. Actually, they came to secure the external security.
Thank you, Mr. Witness, for that answer. Now, I would like to revisit something that you said yesterday. During questions about a camera crew coming to the work site and shooting film about your activity and your work at the dam site, you said that you were quite proud of the work that your unit was doing. That feeling of pride that you had about the work that you did, do you remember whether the other four group chiefs had the same pride? Were they also happy and proud to work at the dam site?
President, please await Mr. Winner. You may now proceed. International Co-Prosecutor.
Under counsel is asking this witness to read the minds of others who unfortunately are not here to testify. Similarly, previous question he asked the witness about security and what was the intention of security. And it'd be very interesting to hear if this witness had a role in security, how he would have knowledge of the answer he just gave as to the purpose of the militia.
Mr. President, I agree with the prosecution that the witness cannot read minds of anybody. However, he would be able to say whether his four group chiefs, colleagues at the time said things like they were proud of their work or that they were happy that they were contributing to building of the dam. So I'm not asking the witness to read their minds, but if he remembers the other four group chiefs saying things to the effect that they were also proud and happy to have worked at the dam. So I think I should be allowed to ask my question.
And I would just indicate, if that is the question, he can ask it. Did these other individuals say that they were happy in front of other Khmer Rouge cadre?
Well, I think that's what my question was. Again, Mr. Witness, did you...
Hello,
President, Counsel Victor Cope, please reformulate the question so that the witness can provide a certain and direct answer to your question.
Very well, Mr. President. Mr. Witness, you said yesterday that you yourself were happy and proud to show your work to the film crew. Do you recall if your four colleagues, group chiefs, also expressed happiness and pride at the time the film crew came along?
Yes, we were so happy to be actors in the film during the canal digging process. And we were actually running, carrying the earth. And we were working in two lines. One line was going after the embankment, and the other line was for people going down with empty earth carrying baskets. And the filming process took about 2 hours. And of course, I did not run for the 2 hours. We took turns. However, the line of people working and running was continuous if you saw what it was shown on the film.
I understand your answer, but just to be clear, were you happy and proud to be in the film, you and your colleagues, or were you happy and proud of the work which was shown in the film?
Okay. If the question is directed to this witness's state of mind, that's fine. But he said you and your co-workers. How does he know?
I will reformulate. Were you happy and proud to be in the film, or were you happy and proud of your work, which was then shown to the film? I know it's a little difficult distinction, but I hope you understand.
I was happy, although parts of the film I didn't see myself. I saw my other comrades carrying earth, while others were running, carrying the earth too, and all looked good.
I apologize for the confusion. Let me return to my original question. So notwithstanding the film, do you know whether your colleagues were happy and proud of the work they had done at the 1st January dam?
Same objection.
I'm not asking again to tell them to read their minds. Did you see, Mr. Witness, any expressions of joy or happiness from your 4 group chiefs in relation to the work?
They were all happy. They were all happy and delighted. And that included the group chiefs. And usually the process was the group chief would lead the workers in carrying the earth. And after they emptied the baskets, they would return in a separate line. Then they would dig the earth, put the earth again into the baskets, and continue through another line up the embankment. And that's the process, and that it continued in that way.
Did you see any signs at the time of pride and happiness of the work with any of the 100 individuals from your village? Did you see that they were happy and proud of the work they had done building the dam?
I could not read the mind of those workers. However, when we stopped during our rest time, I asked them, and they said that they were happy.
Now you said they. Was it a few, or were you able to tell that the majority of the group of 100 people was happy with the work they had done for the 1st January dam?
For 100 workers, including the group chiefs, were happy.
Your Honor, I'd ask to strike. The answer is not responsive. The witness himself has said he can't read the minds of the workers, and the question was did they express, as I understood counsel trying to make the question proper, were there expressions of joy that he heard from the workers about their work? And if the witness heard expressions of joy, he can tell us.
I don't think we are in an American court where you can strike answers of the witness, so it's on the record. But I will be happy to ask for clarification. Mr. Witness, did you see any clear signs of happiness from any of the 100 individuals about the work they had done working at the 1st January dam? Did you see people expressing happiness and joy about the work when the film crew came?
They were happy when they were being filmed.
I'll move on to another topic, and that is the accident that unfortunately happened in those 6 months and that you were talking about yesterday. You said that there was at one point a landslide of earth. Could you give us a little more details as to why you think this accident happened? What was the reason? What happened exactly preceding this unfortunate accident?
The reason for the soil collapse was that we worked at night and each team was competing one another, and actually they built up the embankment and they actually drilled a hole on the surface of the embankment, and then the other workers were not aware of the hole, and while they carried the soil up, then the soil collapsed. And the total amount of the soil that collapsed was about 1 or 2 truckful. And it's because of the nature of how the embankment was made. Some workers went underneath where the hole or the cave underneath was made, and then unfortunately the soil collapsed. However, allow me to stress that this soil collapse happened during the first year of the construction, and the soil collapsed again in 1988, says the witness, when the base of the embankment was dug to get rid of some palm tree stumps, and the soil collapsed. And some people died from the first soil collapse during the regime.
It's a difficult question, but I will try to put it understandably to you. Are you able to tell us whether what happened was a tragic accident, or whether it was the result of hard working conditions forced upon them by you and the group chiefs?
I do not know how to respond to your question. It was part of the working process, but as I said, the people who worked at the top of the embankment wants to have the work done as soon as possible. And for the people who stayed underneath were unfortunate when the soil collapsed.
Mr. President, I'm looking at the clock. This might be an appropriate time to break.
President, thank you. The time is convenient for us to take a short break. We'll take a break now and resume at 10:30. And court officer, please assist the witness in the waiting room for the witnesses and experts during the break, and invite him back into the courtroom at 10:30. The court is now in recess.